Naja Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja 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 Abarera Legos Ram Abarera Nikos Ori Banish C10 Demonio
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Apocrypha. How's it going? Good to see everybody. Looks like we got a pretty full house here, right? We got Tree Sap. Yes, you are here on the correct day. We went from Fridays to Saturdays, and at some point we're probably going to go back from today to Fridays, but for the foreseeable future, it is going to be on Saturdays. Curse, welcome. Maeve, welcome. Kelvin, welcome. Good to see everybody. So yeah, as you can all see, Mystic is still alive. The hurricane didn't take him away. So when
it tried.
when it made landfall, what was it at?
It was a 3 when it made landfall. And it made landfall about an hour north of us. So about 60 miles.
Okay.
In Sarasota. So, which honestly for us was, obviously better. But the south side is the one that gets all the really bad wind.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a lot of wind. It was not near as bad as Ian. You should know.
Yeah, I do.
But it was not near as bad as Ian. It was, for us, some people obviously would disagree with that live really close to the waterfront, because we had more surge than we had with Ian at our house. Like the water came up over the streets, over the canals, but did not come into the house. So most everything's good. We have backup power, so we were able to take hot showers and stuff. So that was nice. And I fixed my fence today, which was really exciting.
Rock on. Getting some manly stuff done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's something in there.
Something.
I don't know what, but it's something.
Yeah, might have to ask Rook.
Mm-hmm. He wouldn't know the difference. They hit it in the face.
Oh shit!
And it does.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm glad it didn't hit that hard, and I'm glad it dropped down to a 3, because everybody was talking about, at least, like, I couldn't find a straight answer online anywhere about that fucking hurricane. Like,
well, I think what people got confused with is it was one of the strongest hurricanes on record, but that's why it was at the sea.
mm-hmm.
Once it hit us, which they knew, and they said the whole time it was going to drop down a little bit, which was, I think, where everybody got confused. But it was a 3 when it hit, and it went real fast across the state. Ian lingered for like 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the other difference. It went real fast. So people north of us, not as great, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of damage to some of our buildings and stuff, but overall, I don't think there was near as much loss of life with this one as there was with Helene, which just came by. We got a little bit of damage from that, and then 2 weeks later, this one, and now there's another one that's kind of in the same place.
Right, so there's another one coming in?
Yeah, it's just a depression right now. They don't know if it's going to actually become a hurricane, so nobody's talking about it yet because we're in denial.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I looked it up online because I was curious, because there are people on TikTok. I mean, TikTok is, never get your news from TikTok, people. Just don't do it.
Please.
Just don't fucking do it. But they're showing kind of like satellite imagery of like Katrina, Helena, and fucking whatever the fuck it was. Now I'm thinking Milton. It wasn't Milton.
It is Milton.
Oh, it is Milton.
That was
okay.
The one. Milton,
no,
yeah.
it's because Dyra keeps saying Millhouse. She calls it Hurricane Millhouse.
About the same. But the bad part is, and yes, please don't get your news from YouTube or really anywhere at this point, unless it's a really truly independent channel. 1440, I'll plug them any day. It's a really good news place. But the best weather comes from anywhere in the United States, North America, is either Ryan Hall or Max Velocity. Those 2 people on YouTube, you will always know what's happening all the time. I don't even turn the news on anymore for weather. But there's a lot of fake AI stuff going around. There's like tornadoes. There were a lot of tornadoes. That's what they'll be talking about is the damage from the tornadoes. That's what happened with our power. There's probably about 100 power lines down right beside my house because tornadoes went through. But there's all this fake AI video stuff, and like there's all this like Hurricane Nadine coming. Well, Nadine is the next name, but it's not even in use yet. There's just a whole bunch of people making shit up now too. Pisses me off.
Yeah, just to get views. I mean, so the thing is like, I mean, but they use these satellite images, like, and you could tell like some of them were like really well formed, and other ones were like showing kind of like as the hurricane was forming, and so it made it look bigger than what it actually was. And then you see everybody in the comments like talking about, yeah, it's the climate change. Climate change is, you know, making the hurricanes worse, but nobody's listening. And they said everyone's talking about this is going to be the worst hurricane to hit Florida, this, that, and the next thing. And I was like, all right, I'm just curious. And so I guess the worst like Cat 5 to actually make landfall as a Cat 5 in Florida was 1935.
Yep. But there have been many unfortunate Category 3s that have caused even more damage. Or Ian, which was a 4 when it hit. And we were a direct hit with Hurricane Ian. And it was a Category 4 when it hit. But what made that so damaging was that it was slow. It went about a third the speed of Milton. So it just sat on us. We had 8 hours of hurricane wind one way on one eye, and then the eye wall, and then 8 more hours of it going the other way. That's when we lost our roof. We lost pretty much. We weren't able to live in our house for a month. And then even with that, the roof didn't get repaired for almost a year and a half.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean,
people will fearmonger however they can. I mean, you know what? Weather's going to happen. And if we want to live in Florida, we have to deal with it. Can't complain. If we can't deal with it, then we have to move. That's that.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's that, people. He's alive. He's well. Florida, not so much, but Mystic is good. So, Mystic, what decks you got for us?
So, as I'm out, I did not bring a new deck, unfortunately. So, I do have the deck with me that I always use. It's about dead. But it's my personal deck. So, we're gonna use it today.
Okay.
And for any of you that don't know, my current deck that I use mostly is the Steampunk by Barbara Moore and Ali Fell. Easy deck to read. If you want to learn tarot, other than taking the course, this is a deck to get because you can figure it out by using your brain and the card imagery. Let's see what we get today. Seven of Swords, Ace of Swords, Ten of Pentacles. Sorry, mosquitoes. We are outside, so mosquitoes everywhere. So our first card is Seven of Swords. This is actually an interesting way to start because at this pace, we're generally doing an energy read, but this is very specific to somebody. There is an air of somebody stealing or taking things from somebody. We have a situation where something's being hidden, and we need to figure it out. So this is usually not a positive thing. You know, swords are all about challenges. I like to use the analogy every time I pull a sword card, especially if somebody's newer in a teaching setting, is you think of what a sword does, or a blade. A blade can cut a tumor out if it's a surgeon. A blade can kill somebody if it's stabbed. A blade can cut open fruit so that you can eat it. There's so many good I would not good and bad, but so many different uses. And all those uses depend on the person yielding the blade, not the blade itself. So the Seven of Swords comes up. It is the person that's yielding the blade has got some secret that they're trying to hide or keep from you, and it's not a good thing. It needs to come out in the open. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad secret. It just needs to be out in the open because if it doesn't come out, there's going to be a problem. Our second card being the Ace of Swords just supports this even more, that there's a big decision that we're going to have to make in the coming weeks, and that we're not going to make a good decision if we don't have all the information because somebody's keeping something from you. So we got to figure out what that is. Got to figure out what that thing is. Again, not a huge thing. This isn't like earth-shattering like secrets and things. It's just there's a piece of information out there that somebody's keeping from you that's going to help you make a decision that you're going to do a bad deal And then we have 10 of Pentacles inverted. I'll hold it right side up so you can see it better. Right side up, the 10 of Pentacles is often what I call like the happy family card, kind of like the 10 of Cups. They're both very, very good outcome cards, and they mean this representation of things have worked out. Things are going very well. Inverted cards to me are not opposites. They just mean that there's a challenge in order to get to where we're going, because it's not about like telling the future. I do believe in free will. So this doesn't foresee that something bad is going to happen with our family. What it foresees is if this little bitch keeps holding her secrets and doesn't give you what you need, we're not going to be able to make a good decision to make sure that we're going in the right direction, and we're going to prevent ourselves from going to the right way. So what do? We have to flip the card around. That's the action that we need to do, right? So the action for me in this case is going to be looking at the things that we're thinking about, looking at the people around us, and looking at the little details. Find out who's kind of keeping this thing from you. And don't think of it as like, I'm not saying somebody's lying to you. I'm saying somebody has information that you don't need, or that you do need, that they're not giving to you. So pay attention to the things that are around you this coming week. Pay attention to the people around you. And if you have a nagging suspicion that somebody's holding back on something that's going to affect you, ask the extra question. Push them for the extra information. Don't just let things go this week. You're going to have to dig a little if we're going to come out with a good outcome there. So that's it for today.
That was quick.
Yeah, my deck. You know,
Yeah.
I use it a lot. I play with it a lot. It just always does what I need it to do.
Yeah. You know, I can imagine that being somewhat disappointing, being so fast, though.
No, depends on if I've got something somewhere to be. You know. But in all seriousness, I do highly recommend this deck. Like it's got some really, especially if you like steampunk. It's the steampunk deck. There's a couple of different steampunks out there, but this one by Barbara Moore and Ali Fell is one of the best.
Rock on, rock on. Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that, like, in situations like right now, like, that's the one you always seem to have with you. That one or the mini one.
Oh, that one, it's the same deck. They are always with me. In case I forget my bag, I have the mini deck in my other bag.
There you go. There you go. Rock
This
on.
is probably my third or fourth copy of it, between the dogs eating it and me losing it or breaking it or ripping the cards or dropping one in the pool.
Definitely. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, my go-to deck is still the Mirror Oracle, with the Dark Mirror Oracle. So
it's a good one.
Yeah, that's still my go-to.
You know, there's a second one to that now.
Is there?
Mm-hmm. Cannot remember what it's called off the top of my head.
Might have to look at that. So.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so the topic for this evening, okay? I just actually closed the damn thing. So is healing and transformation left-hand paths alchemy versus other healing practices? So the first thing that we're going to be covering with this is the use of alchemical and transformative practices in the left-hand path for personal evolution. Now let's remember something as we get into this, okay? We've discussed this many times. The left-hand path in and of itself is more of a philosophy, an overlay that kind of can go on top of pretty much everything out there, depending on the person's perspective and how they manage things. Because the left-hand path, as I always reiterate, talks about personal responsibility and accountability for one's own actions, right? So, as we get into this, right, just keep that in mind. So, alchemical. Which one of you lovely humans wants to explain this type of alchemy? Because when most people think of alchemy, they think of like turning lead into gold and shit. So.
Doesn't matter to me. I can start if you want, because I like to think of alchemy first, like in its most basic form, turning all this stuff into gold metaphorically,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's turning, if you're doing it internally to yourself, your alchemy is turning something that is maybe not so exciting into something that's more exciting, or something that is traumatic into something that is not traumatic. Or using, again, your pain or your traumas to healing to become the strongest parts of you that help you grow. You don't cut, like we talked about this last week, I think, or week before, whatever. You don't cut those things out. You use them, and they're always with you. They just become things that progress you. So from an alchemy standpoint, just like purely like talking about alchemy, like The Alchemist, the book, it's the transformation of things within yourself to other things. So that's the goal. The gold isn't, to me, isn't like the money or the element gold. It's the positivity of things that I don't even like positivity, because that's not always positive, like in the way people think about it. But strength, that's probably the better way. Using it in strength. And alchemizing anything takes a lot of different pieces. Like we talk about magic a lot in witchcraft. But that alone, without action, there is no alchemy. Alchemy requires a catalyst. It requires something to go into it, something to change it, and something to come out of it. And I guess the moral of the story for me is, from a healing perspective, alchemy requires you to do active work no matter what. It is not ever a passive thing.
Yeah, that's pretty on point. Dyra, what's your take on it?
So, yeah, when I think of alchemy, but like Mystic said, it's like, what can I turn into gold? You know, turning things from shit into gold. And, you know, obviously we have the stages of alchemy to achieve magnum opus, the Philosopher's Stone, the Great Work. We have Negredo, which is the blackening, the rotting. That's considered to be kind of like the dark night of the soul, which is where we go through a spiritual death, followed by Albedo, which is the whitening. And then we have the forgotten stage of alchemy, which is Citronitis. And then we finally have Rubedo, which is the red, which is considered to be the completion of the great work, obtaining the Philosopher's Stone. What I find interesting about alchemy and stages of alchemy is that people seem to, if they're not kind of aware of how to do alchemy, I don't really want to use the term properly, but maybe just don't have so much awareness around it and where they're at. They tend to ping pong between Negredo and Albedo, because the thing is, when you go into Albedo, you kind of think you've made it, because it's the whitening, and it's you can kind of be a little bit delusional when you're in that alchemical stage. It's usually a time where, you know, if someone has come out of a dark period and if someone has come out of a dark period in their life and, you know, they've learnt lessons from it, but they don't continue to put those lessons into practice, they will slip back into Negredo. But this Albedo stage is very much like, oh yes, I've made it, I am God. And you know, this very kind of, it can really inflate your ego. The forgotten stage of alchemy, Citronitis, it kind of acknowledges the parts that still hurt. There's an art piece, I think it's like a painting or something, it's supposed to represent that stage of alchemy, and it's a man like pointing to certain areas of his body. It's just like, okay, this bit still hurts, and that's kind of you can actually feel like you're going into another dark night in the soul when you're in that stage of alchemy. So yeah, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but that's kind of how I break it down. There's also a thing within the alchemical process known as the green lion. Because I remembered when I was going through my own sort of process around this, and there was a lot of like green symbolism, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't, in my mind, because I kind of, I break alchemy down into its colors, so black, white, yellow, and red, and I'm like, where's this green coming from? And then that's when I discovered the green lion, and the green lion is the part that there's imagery of the lion eating the sun, and the sun is the ego, so it's breaking down of the ego. It's breaking down ideas of the self, breaking down identity, and that can be a very painful process as well. So, yeah, I guess that summarizes my kind of stance on alchemy.
Damn. Yeah. I mean, there's really nothing I can add to that. I mean, between you and Mystic, I mean, y'all covered pretty much everything. But yeah, I mean, in put it super basic. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about healing. We use the reference of alchemy as taking that pain and transforming it into something that you can use. It's understanding that pain, just like hope, can be fuel to push you forward. And I think some people kind of miss that. Like I know a lot of people, and I used to be one of them, that like to live in pain. So me, for example, as an artist, as somebody that is creative, there are many situations where I didn't realize it at the time, but I wanted to be in pain because I felt like what I was making, like I felt like there was something actually coming out of me when I would make something instead of just making something to make it. Like there's like, I feel like a lot of like, at the time I felt like a lot of my best work came from like when I was in the most painful places. And there was a point where I would, I guess subconsciously, intentionally kind of put myself into situations, painful situations, to continue to be able to create like that. And I kind of understood that I was using it the wrong way, right? Like I can still use the pain that I've had over the years to create and create powerful pieces, but I don't have to live there. And I think that that is kind of where that understanding that alchemical transformation kind of happens, is to know that you can use this to better yourself. You can move beyond it, but you can still go back to it and understand it and create from it. And in some cases, I'm not just talking about artwork. Like when I say create from it, it's like create something in your life. Be the creator of your life. Be the architect of your future. You can use those experiences with the gratitude of where you are now to continue to move beyond that. It's kind of like that concept of when somebody becomes kind of rich and famous, is like never forget where you come from. It kind of, comes from that, I suppose. So now the other aspect, go ahead, Mystic, what's up?
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed hearing, Dyra, what you were talking about and the way you explained alchemy. Is there any resource for anybody like myself or somebody in the chat that would be a good, other than a class maybe, but reading or things that would be a resource?
Now you made her run away. You see that? Look at that. She
I've never heard it explained that way, and it makes so much more sense to me because I'm not an expert in this at all. So I would love, I'm making my reading lists off this stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I believe it.
But yeah, just that I really like that way that was shared.
Okay, so this is the Philosopher's Stone. A Quest for the Secrets of Alchemy by Peter Marshall. This is if you want to get super nerdy with alchemy. Obviously you can tell it's a very thick book. There's another one which I cannot find for the life of me. I don't know where I've put it, but that book is literally called Alchemy. I'm gonna see if I can actually find it.
I didn't mean to stop the show, Atius, but I gotta add to my bookshelf.
That's all good, man. It's all good.
Where are you? I can't find it at the moment. Oh no, there it is. Alchemy: The Art of Transformation. And this is by Jay Ramsey.
I think I actually have a couple of books by him.
Yeah, so
Sounds
that's
familiar.
what I'd recommend in terms of reading. Also, any like if you look at Young's got some stuff on alchemy as well, which is very, very good.
Yeah, I think Young is where I get most of the little bit of what I do know, but it's definitely not in detail. So I would like to go more into that, and I'm sure some people in the chat might want to also. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah,
But,
I'm definitely not as scholarly when it comes to like the information that I have. Like I'm definitely more based on personal experience, anecdotal information, and just kind of like the theory of everything that I understand. Which is why it's always amazing to have you on here, Dyra, because you get to break it down and throw shit out there that like I'm like so yeah
it's interesting what you were saying though about the whole kind of needing pain in order to feel like you can actually create and be productive. I actually think that this can act as a bit of a pitfall when it comes to left-hand path, is this idea that we need to be suffering in order to be productive. It's definitely an idea I've fallen into, where I think I need to carry out some sort of process in my life by taking certain actions, working towards a certain goal, and then I realize that there's actually nothing on the other side of that door, and that I don't need to choose to suffer in order to like I don't need to push myself through an alchemical process when it's not authentic. I'm not going to actually gain much from it. You know, we can choose when we're suffering in a lot of cases. Like a lot of our the prisons that we create for ourselves, you know, it's self-imposed stuff. And I think a real kind of a good hint that you are doing your alchemy very well is when you come to a place where you think, I don't actually ever have to feel like that again if I don't want to. And I'm not talking about this bullshit of like, oh, you choose to be happy and things like that. I'm talking about situations where you have found yourself in that have made you feel like that. Perhaps things that are familiar, things you've returned to for the sake of familiarity, painful patterns, trauma patterns. Once you have been through a certain degree of the process of alchemizing that, you come to a place and there's this sense of relief of I never have to feel like that again. I never have to go through that experience again, because I can make better choices today and I have tools today so that I don't have to go back there. But on the other side of the coin, there is also a grieving process to that, because you have to grieve what was once familiar to you. You have to grieve letting that go. And that's a whole other alchemical process.
No, I mean, that is like 100% kind of like what the realization that I kind of made, like with the whole, I think that you know, during that time period, like my early 20s, late teens, stuff like that, I think even like a little bit in like my mid 20s, like there's this romanticization of pain, being power. And there's some truth to it, but it is definitely like living in your pain. There's definitely an expiry date on it, you know, where it becomes, it's no longer productive. It becomes harmful. It becomes toxic to the self. And unfortunately, when you kind of live in that pattern long enough, you don't realize that it's becoming toxic to you, right? Until something happens that completely just fucks up your life. And then you kind of have to take a step back and be like, okay, what am I doing? Right? Because living inside of pain, when you do that, it goes back to a video that I just recently uploaded, like, you know, victimization, professional victims, you know, in the left-hand path. Yes, there are actual victims that they need to kind of expel that energy. They need to get it out. They need to be heard, you know, things like that. They need that in order to kind of get past what has made them a victim. But the concept of being a professional victim is the idea of living in your own pain, is constantly trying to find a reason to be in pain and then to create off of that whatever it is that you're creating for yourself, that you can't propel yourself forward unless you're suffering. And that is contrary, that is completely against, you know, what the left-hand path is. Like, the left-hand path isn't about like claiming yourself to be a victim all the time for all of these different things, or to live in your pain. It's understanding the process and moving through that process to become stronger on the other side of it. You know, it's to that accountability, that responsibility to your own healing, to your own manifestation. You know, the whole self-deification aspect of things, right? Like, what self-deification is understanding that you are the only person that has the power to get yourself out of this hole that you're in. You know, no one is coming to save you. You know, and so, yeah, definitely. You know, it was definitely something that I was kind of stuck in. And, you know, I realized that I didn't have to be there. I don't have to live there. I own my pain. The suffering that I went through in my life, I own that. And it is something that will always affect me. It affects me now as, you know, a father, as a partner, you know, as a human being. But just because it affects me, it doesn't mean that it has to hinder me. Like, understanding the tools that are necessary to correctly kind of use that and move past it, communicate it, talk about it, and then move on with life and being happy, actually happy with, you know, what my life is, what I want it to become. That's the little one. So yeah. So, I mean, that is, you know, my experience, or at least how I would, through anecdotal, you know, means, explain what my alchemy was, you know, and still is. It still is. We're constantly change is a constant thing. Internally,
isn't that kind of like
go ahead.
the difference between like being happy and feeling joy? I think people get that a lot confused pretty often. You know what I mean? You can. It sounds like what you're saying in a way is, you can have moments of obvious pain, trauma, things that need healing, and be in an overall happy disposition because you have either coping mechanisms or the ability to understand and transform or alchemize that pain, discomfort into something better. It doesn't have to be a state of mind all the time. I think that's one of the things, like, yeah, you can draw on your pain and discomfort as part of your artistic process to grow, but that doesn't mean that you're in a constant state of being of pain. You can still have happiness and experience joy while also working through other parts. Because it's, I use the Kabbalion a lot when I think through things on the most basic level. Everything flows. There's a tide to everything, right? So, but the tide is still part of the ocean. The ocean is still the ocean and is always going to be the ocean. The tides are changing on top of it and coming in or out, much like your pain, discomfort, your feelings at the moment. But the overall ocean is still the thing that kind of holds it all together. And when you're working on something like healing, or even talking about it through alchemy, it's recognizing that those patterns are still going to be there. Again, like we said earlier, you're not. I don't think, anyway. I could be wrong in many people's spheres, but I don't think you can cut it out. You can't dislodge it. You can't remove it. You can only change it.
You're not wrong. I mean, and it's kind of like goes back to kind of like what I said. There's things that I'm still kind of like, for me, things that I still have to work through. Like, one of the things, I'm an overthinker, right? Like, I constantly overthink, but I mean, like, constantly, and I'll overthink about my overthinking, and, I have to know when I'm overthinking, or at least try to understand when I'm overthinking things because of the emotional response that I'm having, and talk it out. Like, I have to be open about it. I have to communicate about it. Like, I can't let it fester, because it is something that just kind of continually keeps going. And it's not something that's ever going to go away. It's not. I'm 38 years old now, I'll be 39 next year. And, it's just one of those things that I understand at this point that, it's an aspect of myself that I have to live with. And I have to understand the tools that are necessary, to be able to live a reasonably normal life with the way that my brain works. Because my brain is always analyzing everything. Like, at least with things that are important to me, and things that, might have potential negative outcomes. I overthink those situations, and my brain is always processing at 1,000 miles a minute, with everything that's going on around me. And it's not fun. It's not. It's painful sometimes. Like, I hurt myself a lot. It's just, one of those things, but that's still in a constant state of change, right? Like, everything about us is in a constant state of change, and it's learning, how to accept those changes and grow with them, and try to turn certain things into a positive, and learning tools that are necessary to be able to cope with those that are really hard to turn into positive things, right? So yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're like, with what you're explaining, you're not wrong at all. Like, you can't dislodge it. You can't, turn it off. You can't get rid of it. It can get better over time, like, as trust builds with people, as I learn more about people that I bring into my life, things like that, it begins to subside. It begins to kind of waver a little bit, because trust is there, but trust is something that, unfortunately, like, I know a lot of people, have this idea that I'm going to trust you until you prove to me that I can't. My brain will never work that way. My brain will be, I'm going to distrust you until you prove to me I can trust you. That's just how my brain has always been. And maybe there's more tools out there that I could use that would make it not so much that way. But, as it stands right now, that's how my brain works. So.
If we talk about healing, right, then the first aspect of healing has to be the desire to heal or to transform something. if that's not part of your path or your need to find a destination to it, then that's not part of it. You know, I am the opposite. I give trust first, and unfortunately, it burns me a lot, but I deal with it, right? But I don't want to change it. I kind of like that about myself. Some people see it as weakness, and that's fine. I've dealt with it, so that's not something that I need to alchemize. So same for you. If it's something that's part of your history, is that something that you need to alchemize right now? Is that important to change at the moment? You know what I mean? And I think I'm just tying it into the idea of, healing and how we look at things. It's got to start with, this is a problem. I need to fix this. This is something I dislike or that I'm not comfortable with or that's causing me stress or causing me discomfort. I need to address this, because if it's not causing you discomfort, then you shouldn't really look at it, to me. And we shouldn't try to judge our discomfort level off of somebody else's either, which I think doesn't need to be said, but I think people do that a lot. It's like, oh, I see somebody over there they're happy all the time and they're just a bubbling positivity, and how do I get there? No, I don't want to be that person. I'm looking at Brad. Like, I don't want to be that person. Like, yeah, I'm fine with how I am, so I'm not going to make that adjustment.
I mean, there are definitely some upsides to being an overthinker. I think there's more downsides than there are upsides, but Dyer, what are your thoughts? You're muted.
For some reason, I went to speak and I muted myself. Yeah, something that Mystic said, I think, used the word destination, reminded me of something that came through when I was working with Belial recently, and it was the more you look for a destination, the more lost you're going to be. And I feel like that's what a lot of people look for in healing. They look for a destination. They don't look for healing, they look to be fixed. And being fixed is an illusion within itself, because what does that look like? It's such a subjective thing. I think for a lot of my life, I was looking for the fix, whether it was like I had quite a difficult time in my teens with mental health stuff, and it was, I'd done loads of different types of therapy. I was like, okay, maybe it's this therapy, or maybe it's this medication, maybe it's this doctor, maybe I should go down the more kind of alternative medicine route and go, I was doing fucking acupuncture and Reiki, and it was all looking for this fix, and it was like, nothing is fixing me, and therefore I am broken and I will forever be broken. Now, if I compare myself now to how I was 5 years ago, it is night and day. But am I fixed? Am I fuck? Like, there is still a lot of things that I'm aware that I need to work on. But, the reality is I never even dreamed I'd be where I am today in terms of how I feel within myself and my life and what that looks like. I think if I could see what was to come and how I am today, I would think, yeah, she's fixed. And I'll probably obtain the things that in my mind now would qualify as being fixed, and I'll probably obtain those and be like, well, no, I'm still not fixed. So yeah, it's this I feel like that's what people chase when they're healing. They want to be fixed, but the reality is that the process of healing, it's not linear, it's not clean, it's not this soft kind of easy lift of your sorrows. It's messy, it's chaotic, and it often involves some kind of purge. Even if we look at it through like physical healing, like I had a back injury earlier this year. My osteopath at the time had to beat the shit out of me in order to, you know, realign my pelvis, and you know, all that was painful. But it was a productive pain. And there is such a thing as productive pain, especially in alchemy. So yeah, I mean that's what healing can look like, and I feel like people don't feel like they're healing because they're still in pain, and it's like, no, that's a lot of that is the point. A lot of it is just feeling it.
Yeah, allowing yourself to experience it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really don't see how much more we can add on top of this, you know, this part of it. You know, it's something we all go through. We all have our demons that we have to deal with. Now, one of the things that I like to say a lot is, you know, I don't try to exercise my demons. You know, I try to understand them, and then I work with them or have them work with me. And I think that is, sorry, little one is screaming very loud. So I think that for me, at least in my process, is or was the most helpful part of things. Is I was always trying to kind of like, I always thought that there was something very seriously wrong with me, and I needed to get something out of me. Call it like, you know, self-exorcism, whatever, you know. And just like what Dyra said, like, you know, looking like if a past version of myself was looking at me right now, you know, I would say that, you know, I'm doing pretty fucking good, you know, given, you know, certain circumstances and things like that. You know, I'm doing really fucking good right now. And I like the person that I am. You know, I can look at myself in the mirror and I am happy with the person I'm looking at. Not delusionally so. Like, I'm still very well aware that, you know, like it's, you know, it's not like, you know, Christian Bale and Psycho, American Psycho, right? You know, with the fucking mirror on the ceiling. Yeah, no. You know, we're not that bad. We're not that bad. But I am content with the person that I am, with an understanding that I can always do better. I do not obsess about what it is that I can do better, but when an opportunity presents itself for me to do better, then I do so. Right? If someone that I care about presents something to me and says, hey, you know, this thing seems off, whatever, then I'll take that into consideration and I'll work on it. You know, it's a process. We're humans. We make mistakes. We fuck up, right? And while you're alive, every single one of you in the chat, every single person on this panel, we're all going to fuck up. We're going to keep fucking up. We're going to always make mistakes. That doesn't make us bad people. That just makes us human. That's all it does. And understanding that, which is one of the reasons why I thought it was important for us on this show to talk about last week, about the whole self-deification thing and the obsession of people thinking they can actually become a god. Can't. You can't. Like a literal Mystic, don't give me that face. like
You're talking about you. I am a god.
Oh, there you go. So, you know, in the literal sense of divine perfection, we will never reach that. One of my favorite quotes, I can't remember who the fuck says it, is, worry not about perfection, for you shall never reach it. And that's just the truth of the matter. Don't worry about being perfect, because you will never be perfect. Just try to be the best version of yourself that you can be.
That was what I was going to say. There's a school of thought, and I like it. And I know you've heard it before. This is not, I'm not talking about like the new age white lighter kind of version of it. So it sounds this way first, but it's so cheesy. But the realization that we are all perfectly ourselves because nobody else can be more perfectly yourself than you, because nobody else is you. Whatever part of the universe you are, whatever God you are becoming of your life, it is the most perfect version of you that it can be, because it is what exists. When we talk about energy can't be created nor destroyed kind of thing, and I'm going off on tangent, I know that, so it'll be short. The energy can't be created or destroyed. That's kind of where it comes from for me, is I am just constantly moving information in, out, and around me, and energy in, through me. You know, all the stuff we eat, all the stuff we take in, the thought process, the things we learn, memorize, things we share, the interactions with other people, all that stuff. Perfection isn't being perfect, because perfect as the definition doesn't exist. There's no such thing. It just wood. This piece of wood is not perfectly a piece of wood. There's other stuff in it, right? So it's always going to be something else, but it is perfectly doing what it is here to do, which is thankfully keeping a roof over our head. It's the same thing with people. I'm not good at it, but I have realized that I am perfectly who I am, the way that I am, and that perfection is a definition for me. Again, as we talked earlier, it's a destination, doesn't exist, because we're never going to get there. Just like you said, we're not supposed to get there, because it doesn't exist. There is no such thing. It is all about us doing what we need to do to make sure that our lives are fulfilling to ourselves, and engaging ourselves and being something that's productive by our own measuring stick, not somebody else's, because that's really where most of the stuff falls apart, right? It's when you're measuring up to somebody else. It's like, I don't want to be that. That's not the thing that I'm looking for. My healing has been a long journey, and will be a forever journey that I will be on to do something, because like you said too, we'll fuck up. That's probably the most fun part about it.
But there's nothing wrong with fucking up, though. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I
Right.
mean, it's
Well, what does fucking up even mean, right? Like, who defines that?
we do.
Yourself. You do.
Exactly. Individually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's you know, it's a learning experience. Everything is a learning experience. I think the greatest thing that I've learned over the last like year and a half, and truly putting it into practice, like this is the hard part, right? Learning it is one thing. Putting it into practice is a whole other fucking ball game. But once you figure out how to put it into practice, your perspective on life changes a lot. And it's living in gratitude. It's not to say that I don't want more. It's not to say that I'm not trying for more. It's not to say that, you know, I'm trying to provide. I'm not trying to provide more. I am. But I am grateful for everything that I have today. And tomorrow, when I open my eyes, universe willing that I do, I will be grateful that I was able to have another day, to love the people that I love, to do the things that I do, and enjoy my life. Living in gratitude. It's a very difficult thing for us as human beings to do, but once you get that shit down packed, a lot of stuff changes.
People confuse that too when you say that, I think, and probably not most of us, meaning the chat, because this is something we've talked about a lot. You're really confused about like being grateful and gratitude for like being like toxically positive, right? And I know that's not what you're saying. That's why I wanted to kind of point it out. It's just like, even for me, as little as being grateful that I have the ability to at least identify when I need to change something. You know, they can be the tiniest things, but it's not about just always choosing to be happy. Like I said earlier, that's just not really how that works. But that's not and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's not the type of gratitude that I think you're talking about. Is that just, oh, I'm grateful for the flowers they still, you know?
No, definitely not.
I mean, I assume that. I'm sure most people can. But it's that version of gratitude that's like, you know, I have a chance to continue to do something better.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's I have an opportunity today, right now, to do whatever it is that I feel like I need to do for myself and the people that I care about. So, Dyra, what is your take or perspective on gratitude, living in gratitude and being grateful?
There's a lot of emphasis on gratitude if you are in some kind of recovery, whether it's from addiction or mental health, whatever. It's just like, write a gratitude list. It'll, it's going to change your life. And I get gratitude lists sent to me on a daily basis from friends and people that I know. Do I send one back? No. Not because I'm not grateful, but because I don't need to define it in a list of 10 fucking things. I'm more about authentic gratitude. I just then had a little moment with my cat. And I'm just stroking her. I'm just like, you're so fucking soft, man. You're just great. Like, authentic gratitude. I like to feel gratitude in the moment, and it helps me savor a moment rather than waking up in the morning and thinking, fucking hell, what am I grateful? Oh, I'm grateful I've got running water. I'm grateful that I've got yeah, like I am. I'm grateful I've got a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I've got enough money to feed myself and live my life, and I'm grateful I can walk and that I've got my health and that I've got eyesight and the basics, but I don't have to write it down on a fucking list. It's moments like where things are put into perspective. I was really ill last week. When I'm ill, I have this gratitude that for the fact that I'm hardly ever ill, and that I don't have some kind of chronic illness or something, that for the majority of the time I have my health. So for me, gratitude is like when things are put into perspective, and also when I'm just savoring moments and I'm present and I'm like, fuck yeah, this is great.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
I like that.
I think the idea. I mean, I understand the reason why, in situations like that, people are kind of like requested to kind of like create lists of things that they're grateful for, so they can become consciously aware of the things that they should be grateful for. I think that there are a lot of things that we as human beings take for granted, just on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't, just because we take something for granted, though, like I don't think that 100% means that we're not grateful that we're able to, we're able to walk, we're able to see, we're able to speak, we're able to do the things that we do. I don't think that just because we're not consciously grateful for those types of things all the fucking time, like I don't think that means that we're not grateful for it, right? But I think, the gratitude for me that I'm talking about, I'm grateful for you, right? I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for the platform that I have every time I do this. Like, I feel gratitude, that there are people that take time out of their fucking day to, sit here for an hour, hour and a half and listen to us fucking ramble on like a bunch of fucking idiots, and, I'm grateful for that. So I think it's being grateful and understanding that inside of that gratitude, I am able to do more. Because being grateful for those types of things, I know that I'm able to provide more. I'm able to push myself more. I'm able to take a hard day, a difficult day, a stressful day, and say, it's just a day. It's just a moment, right? Like, there's 24 hours in a day. I have a stressful hour at work. It doesn't ruin my fucking day. It's just a stressful hour at work. Am I going to bitch about it? Of course I'm going to bitch about it. But does it ruin the day? No. There's still another 23 fucking hours left, to enjoy, to do something that I love. So I think when I talk about living grateful or living in gratitude, it's paying attention to those moments that you're talking about where you truly feel grateful, is understanding in that moment, I'm really grateful for this thing, this moment, this opportunity that I have right now. And then allowing yourself to enjoy it. Because I also think that if you feel like you need to fucking say it every time you're fucking grateful for something, then you're not actually enjoying the gratitude that you have for the thing that, you know, you're enjoying. Right? Now you're worried about like showing that gratitude. So yeah. Anyway, we kind of missed half of the topic, but I still think that this was like, you know, very productive conversation. Go ahead, Mystic.
I was just gonna say it. Don't laugh at me. I'm not very grateful for you right now.
That's fine.
I'm kidding. The good thing about that is there'll be more topics for next time, but I think it's important to talk about these kind of things because these topics really do underline, especially the left-hand path, but in occultism or in our circles everywhere, how do you get to this place that everybody talks about, right? Without being fake with it. And that's really hard. And writing a list of things that you're grateful for, it's just, I don't know why, but it made me think of Thanksgiving and it made me instantly angry because I hate traditional Thanksgiving. Like, I just absolutely despise it because it is so fake to me. I picked this one day to list, I am grateful for it. No. I really like, Dyra, what you talked about with the authentic gratefulness. That's something I probably need to work on a little bit better. But it's, instead of, we've all talked about it, but for individuals who have difficulty with being grateful or at least expressing it, one of the things that I learned to do, or was taught to do actually, is instead of talking about gratefulness as a thing or being grateful or waking up and doing your daily gratitudes, which that also irritates me, it just feels so fake to me, I just bothers me, is, try to recognize throughout the day things that you enjoy or like. I like that thing. Okay, why did I like that thing? And then be grateful for that thing. So setting up a pattern that you start getting used to being able to express gratitudes with yourself instead of just, trying to pick a day to do it or being specific about it or waking up every morning and say what you're grateful for. It has to be organic in order for it to feel, for you to get the feeling, and for me anyway, get the feeling of what it gives you. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. And we'll have plenty of more for that topic. So
no, I mean I think that's perfect. I also want to say that, like, even though it wasn't necessary, because I mean it's kind of like against everything we're talking about here, but I think it's kind of cool that people are putting in the chat what they're grateful for. You know, like I do think it's kind of cool, so because even though like we're all talking about like not writing down lists of what we're grateful for and shit, like everybody's in chat just like, I'm grateful for this. Like,
there's nothing wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't hear that it's a bad idea to write down a list. It's, you have to work your journey is to get to a place where you don't need to write it down.
Yes.
Right. That's the goal. The goal is to be like, I don't need to say that. I already know what I'm grateful for because I'm living it. That experience is part of just what I do.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But I mean, that's why
identifying it, you have to write it down first.
Well, I mean, it just shows that like it's making people think, right? We're making the audience kind of think about, what it is that they have in front of them and what it is that they have to be grateful for, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it. So I think it's awesome that you guys are kind of shooting out there in the chat, what you're grateful for. So that's great. Now everybody's like doing the whole hippie shit, going back and forth. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you. And they're like adding people in the chat.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it does feel good to read it and to see it when somebody says it, right?
It definitely.
Very positively reinforcing, and then to be thinking about, like, I've crossed your mind that you care about something and that you're grateful for it. It is important to say it and do it, but it's important that it is not. I don't know, the making a list of it for your 12-step program to me is the problem because it sets you up to start thinking that again, oh, here it is. I didn't even put this together. That's your fix, right? This is going to fix it. But that's not going to fix
exactly. Exactly.
it. You know, you got to feel it. It has to be a part of you.
No, I mean,
So,
I definitely do have to like say that, like, you know, it is, you know, an amazing thing to hear it from somebody though. You know, to know that you're appreciated, to know that they're grateful to have you in their life. Like, I remember, I think it was like yesterday, or the day before, you know, Dyra out of nowhere is like, I'm really grateful for you, you know, and I swear to fucking God, man, I almost fucking started crying like right there on the spot. Like, you know, like, people, I think, overlook that shit, like letting people know that they're grateful for them. Like, I'm grateful that you're here, that you're in my life, that you are a part of my life. And
I'm grateful for your paycheck.
and how powerful those words are. You know, like it's words are powerful, and I think people forget that shit. Like, you know, it does. I mean, like when you even like guys, like, I mean, all of you in the chat, and I know you guys know this, and everyone here, you know, in the show, I know you guys know this. We pay a very close attention to the words that we use in ritual and in spell and things like that, because we understand the power that words have.
Mm-hmm.
And words have the ability to build you up and make you feel powerful and make you feel loved and cared about. And they have the ability to tear you down and tear you apart. You know, do I believe that there's some truth in that old adage, or that old like little thing that we used to tell kids all the time, is like, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me? There's some truth to that, but fuck, man, words definitely do hurt.
That's trauma set up right there.
Like, you know, so, you know, words definitely hurt. And as much as, you know, the testosterone driven masculine side of me is going, no, words don't do shit. Like,
It's the person who said them that hurt.
right? Like, you know, like, but
Not the word. It's the person and the intent behind them. As we talked about intent for what, last 5 years.
yeah, exactly.
That's what hurts.
Yeah. So, you know, but hearing positive reinforcement, reassurances, things of that nature, the power that that has to elevate and transcend, you know, things that are going on inside, is never doubt the power your words has, especially your words have, especially with people that you love and care about. Like, if you want to see somebody try a little bit harder, you want to see them push because you know they can do it, tell them that you know that they can do it.
Can I say something?
No, you can't. You can't. No.
It was very weird. Today, I made a joke earlier about the fence, right? And I'm going out to fix the fence, and I'm sitting there, and my neighbor's drunk. He's out on the back porch. This is like his fifth, shit, can't remember the name of it anyway, the beer. And he's like, you going to try to fix this? Like, I'm going to try to fix this myself. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it. He's like, I think you can do it. And I literally, for a minute, I'm like, oh, that was really nice. Just that little teeny bit of like a random person saying, I think you got it. I think you look like you can handle it. I was like, that's really nice. It just popped back into my head.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, Dyra, do you have anything to add?
Not really, no.
Fair enough. Mystic means he just added his piece, so, you know. So with that being said, with all that being said, that is going to conclude this evening's episode of Apocrypha. I'm thankful that it went the way that it did. I think this is a very productive episode. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for being here. What's that?
I said, are you grateful?
I am grateful. I'm grateful like a
Put it on your
motherfucker.
list. Put it on your list.
So that's gonna be it.
Grateful like a motherfucker.
Exactly. All right, y'all are fucking amazing. We'll see you next week. I'll see you fuckers tomorrow for Satan and Coffee, where you're just gonna listen to me bitch and complain about shit, as I do. And yeah, hey Mystic, do you have your fucking thing? No, you're probably not doing your thing tomorrow, are you?
Yeah, it's our off Sunday. We have to get back on track the following week.
Okay. All right. So yeah, just Satan and Coffee tomorrow, guys. All right. With that note, as always, hail thy fucking self. We'll see you in the fucking next one. Peace the fuck out.
Deuces.